opportunity of going to these professionals, career guidance and counselors, to help guide the child and panel beat him into what they think will be best for him.
With the notion going on now that some professions are better than the other, or some professions are higher than the other, are some careers demeaning? Is there actually a career that is better than the others?
Well, I will try to advise. Well, I will want to know whether that is the best he can offer himself. If I'm convinced he cannot fit in anywhere, well, I'll leave him to his choice. But if I think he could still be good in other things, I will say, why not try this, that? But at the end of the day, he will still have the final say.
How did you cope with studying medicine compared to these days? Like a doctor, you have to pass your medical college exams, you have to do a house job, you have to pass your part 1, part 2, part 3 and all that. How did you cope with the study of medicine?
Well, the whole thing is borders on determination. If you are determined, it doesn't come quite easily. Like during my time, I went to the university when the various universities were conducting their entrances individually. That was the pre-JAMB era. So my parents couldn't afford my taking different entrances. So I was just given the opportunity to try one. And that was University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Unfortunately, that year there was admission racketeering. There was things didn't go the way it ought to, so I wasn't favored. That was going from class 5. So that was when the choice of changing career. Then some people said, medicine is so competitive, why not try some other thing? And then, well, I had an open mind. I said I could try any other thing. But my mother said, just try it a second time, since there was a problem in the last admission entrance examination. Maybe this time things will be better. So by then, after school starts, I did some auxiliary teaching for about 9 months. So I had enough money of my own to now try several entrances. So I tried 4 and then I succeeded in 3. I passed University of Nigeria, University of Ibadan, University of Benin. And because Nsukka came out first, I said, well, there's no point running around, let me remain there. But so it's not usually that easy. When a child or candidate is determined, at least he should try again. If he doesn't succeed, he can now take a bow and look in another direction.
I would also like to know, aside work, when you're with your family, how do you relax?
When I have time for that, I can once in a while. But like I said, there are so many ways one can relax. I listen to news a lot. So to me, that's a form of, like when I live here, from 8 o'clock till 11 p.m., I normally start from AIT, network, channels, and then so.
Okay, so don't you sing, don't you dance? In fact, I'd like you to sing for us.
There's this favorite of every person that passed through St. Augustine's Grammar School in Kwere. He, Ancient and Modern 184. He says, Dear Lord and Father of mankind, forgive our foolish ways, reclothe us in our rightful mind impure, our lives the service find, in deepest reverence pray. It's prayerful, and then and there's no day we don't sing it in school. At the end of the day, after all the punishments and things, we ask Lord to forgive your foolish ways. And so it was a favorite song for every St. Augustine's old boy.
So what advice do you have for young people who want to venture into the medical profession?
Well, being a doctor is not something you say by the word of the mouth. You must be committed to it. One, gaining admission into the medical school is very challenging, especially these days when people are playing down on merit. During our own time, things were done on merit. I knew nobody at Nsoka or Benin or Ibadan. I had never been to those places before I got admission. So since things are this way, anybody who wants to be a medical student must really work hard and for it, so that whether there is whatever they call it, IM or whatever, it will not be a hindrance to you. And then secondly, when you get in, it is very challenging. You have to deny yourself so many things. You are no longer an ordinary student in the School of Medicine or College of Medicine. Most of the things other students enjoy, social life, parties, this and that, you know, you will no longer, partake of that, because one, your lectures will span from 8 a.m. up to 5 p.m., at times 10 p.m. when you start your clinicals. And when you come back by 10 p.m., you have so many assignments to carry out, so many homeworks, which you must do and present the following day. So it's rigorous. And then, so one has a lot of very bright students fall out of the medical school because of a lack of perseverance. You can make your aggregate 6 or distinction and still cannot go through the medical school, because you need a lot of endurance, a lot of perseverance. Deny yourself so many things. Like we never went on holidays. After the first and second years, you stayed all through in the school. When other students go on holidays, that's the time you people will now settle down for serious business. And anybody who is not, organized can break down, both emotionally and physically.
For the young people in other professions outside medicine, what advice do you have for them generally?
It depends. Doctors don't have it on a platter of gold. When I graduated was when this decree, during the first era of Buhari Diabo, they had a problem with the Nigerian Medical Association, and private practice was banned for doctors who were not up to 5 years post-qualification. And we were affected by that. So we did a lot of apprenticeship and tutelage with other senior colleagues, before we were up to 5 years of post-graduation and could start small practices of our own, which, depending on what you had in mind, most of us knew we were not going to settle for that. And we were just doing it, maybe, let's say, half-heartedly, quotes, until we were able to go for our postgraduate and specialization, and then came out to work as consultants. So it doesn't, so for people in other professions, you can still make it if you are focused. It's just for you to decide early what you want to be. Are you joining the business world, politics, you are going to be an academic. You know, once you have that proper focus, you just pursue it. It may not be rosy, but once there is a will, there will be a way. You know, that's a popular adage. So it's just the commitment. It's not every doctor that is doing well. Depending on how. And I hope you know that medical degrees are not classified as first class, second class, third class, because the first class brain may not be the best in practice. You know, you can have all the accolades in medicine, and yet patients don't appreciate you, and they don't like coming to you. They don't like your practice, and so a lot of commitment is needed. You know, like we have this saying that nobody cares to know how much you know until they know how much you care. You know. So it's not the knowledge that matters, but the care you put into your practice, the empathy you show to your patients.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, viewers, we've come to the end of today's edition of Icons of Our Time. And like the doctor said, he said people don't care how much you know, but they do care of how much care you give to them. That's to tell you that in the medical profession, care, empathy, passion is what matters. And if you know you don't have that, I don't think you have any business doing with that, because actually you're going to be seeing people who actually need a whole lot of care. And it applies to every other area of your life. You should have passion for what you want to do. If you want to move from the step you are to the next level, you should care about it, and you should be passionate and committed to whatever it is you want to do, because definitely the storms of life will come, the wind will blow, it will toss you here and there. But if you're passionate, or if you have passion about what you're doing, you're actually going to get there, and I hope you will. So keep the drive on. Keep your commitment on, and keep your passion on, and I hope to see you be an icon like one of those people, one of the people we've been interviewing so far. That's it on today's edition. I am Esther Gordons, your host. Bye for now.
Welcome to Tech Fusion. I am Hassan. Do not despise the days of little beginnings. Being small is the best time to make your mistakes and develop the philosophy that can help you achieve a truly global company. On this episode, we will showcase a company virtually involved in so many things and yet successful in almost all of them. Let us join Cold Fusion as we see the journey of one of the most versatile companies in the world.
Let me ask you a question. Who built this building? It's the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, currently the world's tallest building. Okay, not quite sure. What about this one? These are the Petronas Towers, two iconic skyscrapers in Malaysia. Well, as it turns out, Samsung built all of those skyscrapers. Sometimes when you look beneath the surface, fact is often stranger than fiction. The year is 1938, and the Western financial system was still recovering from one of the greatest crashes in history, and a second world war was about to break out. It wasn't such a rosy time, but regardless, in this year, a lesser-known man by the name of Lee Chul was about to change the course of history. He founded a little company called Samsung, a trading company that dealt with local groceries and had 40 employees. At the time, the company produced noodles, then expanded into sugar, and then wool. And by the late 1950s, the company had moved into insurance, securities, and retail. In the late 1960s, Samsung moved into electronics, and the first ever product produced by Samsung Electronics was actually a 12-inch black and white TV in 1970. By 1983, the first Samsung computer had arrived. This computer was a full 2 years ahead of Windows PCs. In the 90s, Samsung began to rise as an international force in many industries.
Is my new computer going to be outdated in 6 months?
Not with the new Samsung Note Master. Its unique CPU can be easily replaced, so you can keep updating and stop worrying.
The company went from strength to strength, becoming market leaders by learning the trades of various industries through persistence. In the end, they became one of the most versatile companies in world history. Today, many of us use Samsung products in our daily lives, from TVs to computers to smartwatches and digital cameras, to fridges and kitchenware, to the chips that run our mobile phones, to the actual phones themselves. While this diversity is very impressive for just one company, just how big is Samsung? And what else are they involved in? Well, make yourself comfortable, guys, and get ready to be surprised. Samsung is much bigger than you think. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the awesome facts about the company, and then take a look at its mind-boggling size. Trust me, it gets pretty crazy. Like most of the stuff on this channel, this is the stuff you're not going to see anywhere else on YouTube. Let's get into it.
Number 5.
Since 1993, Samsung Electronics has been the largest producer of memory chips in the world. In fact, the original iPhone and numerous other devices run on Samsung manufactured chips. In addition to this, in 2011, Samsung became the world's largest smartphone manufacturer.
Number 4.
In Korean, the word Samsung means 3 stars. The founder of Samsung Group wanted to indicate that the company was big, powerful, and numerous. The stars also stood for eternity. Have a look at this logo. Do you notice the opening on both ends of the ellipse where the letters S and G are located? This is intended to illustrate the company's open-mindedness and desire to communicate with the world.
Number 3.
Starting from 2006, Samsung remained the largest television manufacturer in the world. They are also the largest manufacturers of LCD panels, and today, 98% of the AMOLED screen market is dominated by Samsung. For those of you wondering, AMOLED is a type of screen that doesn't require a backlight like typical LCD screens.
Number 2.
The company spent $14 billion in research and development in just 2014 alone. Another interesting thing, the S at the end of the Galaxy S series stands for Super Smart.
Number 1.
Samsung has 490,000 employees. More employees than Apple, Google, and Microsoft combined.
Bonus.
In 1995, Samsung invested $2 million into the clothing brand Fubu, just as they were about to go under. Fubu has generated $6 billion in sales since.
The Note 7 was supposed to be a story of refinement, the moment when years of experimentation, trial and error seemed to converge on the perfect size, function and form for a large-screen phone tablet. Samsung's marketing campaign engine was firing on all cylinders, only to have the product that they were selling burst into flames while charging due to a battery defect. With the iPhone 7's release just around the corner, this couldn't have come for a worse time for Samsung Mobile. The exploding phones weren't due to faulty charging cables, it was the faulty devices themselves. One man from Perth, Australia had his Note 7 explode, charring his hotel room bed sheets and carpets. The hotel charged him almost $2,000 for damages, and Samsung agreed to pay. Samsung has issued some statements on the problem, as well as issuing a recall and temporary halting of sales. According to reports, Samsung designed the Galaxy Note 7 battery cell, but the production was delegated to third parties. It's claimed that one of these third-party manufacturers has produced the battery present in faulty units. The technical details haven't been released yet, but perhaps it's fair that the battery manufacturer takes on some of the costs of the recall, and that's not going to be cheap. We'll talk about the costs later. The following is a statement from a Samsung spokesperson, quote, "As of September 1st, a total of 35 claims were registered with Samsung service centres, at home and abroad. Only 24 units on a scale of 1 million were affected by the battery problem. By putting our top priority on consumer safety, we have decided to halt sales of the Galaxy Note 7 and offer new replacement handsets to all customers." End quote. It's said that 2.5 million Galaxy Note 7 handsets have already been sold and will need to be recalled as a part of this exploding battery fault. So, what does this mean for Samsung? When asked about the recall's financial impact on the company, Samsung's mobile chief, Ko Don-jin, said it would be a heartbreaking amount, end quote. The recall and phone replacement to 2.5 million Note owners is set to cost Samsung at least $1 billion by some analyst estimates. While this sounds like a lot, for Samsung that only represents about 5% of the firm's net income for 2016. Not ideal, but not the end of the road for the company either. However, the cost is not only in lost inventory, their market value and consumer confidence will also take a hit. Investor concerns saw the share price drop in reaction to the news. Samsung's market share initially dropped by $7 billion when the news was first announced, before regaining some ground. That being said, this kind of volatility is expected as the speculative markets of today are extremely twitchy. All that I've mentioned hasn't included the competition. Even with no headphone jack, the new iPhone 7, rumoured to have 3GB of RAM and a 25% faster CPU,